All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank y'all for coming out. Been a couple weeks since I've seen some of you guys. Coming off our bye week last week, it was a really productive week for us. I thought it came at the perfect time. Love having that bye week after 6 games. It was great for our coaches to really dive into our self-scout, see what we're doing numerically that maybe other coordinators could see and try to take advantage of so we can make sure we change those things and also really watch our cut-ups and see what we're executing at a high level, what we need to do more of, what, again, maybe we need to stay away from to put our kids in the best position possible. We identified things. I asked the coaches to really go through with our old heads and say, what 2 things do you want to get better at this week? And we asked those guys to really assess that in practice and get better in the time those old heads were out there. For the young guys, it was a different bucket of time. We ended up really getting to see them scrimmage live for the first time since August. We'd seen them on scout teams. Some of us had impressed us. We wanted to give those guys a chance to play in our offense and in our defense and also those special teams drills. And there's a couple of those guys that really made an impact, and we're going to see more of them on the football field. They've earned the right to be on the football field for us going forward. And then the last bucket would be recruiting. You know, we got the coaches out on Thursday and Friday to go see recruits. I got a chance to go see a recruit in Nashville and a chance to go recruit somebody in Dallas on Friday night. So really excited about where everything's going. All in all, just a really productive week for us, and we're better because of it. We got some, again, I talked about the old heads. Some of them were held out of last week's practice against their will, which, again, I think speaks to our culture and the fact that these guys want to keep going and want to get better. But we held them out, made a decision as a coaching staff and training room that it would be best for the team to keep them out. But, again, a low number of those guys, but a ton of work for the young guys, a ton of great work for the old guys that were able to go on very specific things. Moving ahead and looking ahead, I think last week will carry over nicely as we go into the Alamo Dome and play a UTSA team this weekend. It's our third conference game, and obviously both teams are in need of a win, and that's very obvious. I think Frank Wilson, I've known of Frank for years, back to his time at LSU when he was an unbelievable recruiter and a great running back coach. Some of the guys he coached, the production they had in those systems, and you're starting to see it right now. He's getting the running game going. So, again, they're going to present a great challenge to us. Sincere McCormick is the latest running back under his tutelage that's really doing a heck of a job. And defensively, for them, it starts up front. They got an older group of defensive linemen that are playing good football. They come off the ball, they play hard, and they don't stay blocked long. And because of that, you see that they were top of our conference in pass defense a week ago. I think they're third in our conference right now in pass defense, but they're doing a good job on the back end right now. I think that our team is very, very hungry for a win as we stand up here and just keep working. You know, it's one thing to stay the course and to do the things that we're asking them to do. It's a whole nother to get the rewards in the locker room for all their hard work, not just during this football season, but dating back to spring ball and all the summer workouts. So I want so badly for us to put it together and play our kind of football and come out victorious this Saturday. It's going to take great execution. It's going to take 4 quarters, and those are no secret for our team. But with that, we're excited to be back on the practice field. Got a chance to practice yesterday afternoon, and we'll be back out there today. With that, I'll open up for any questions.
Coach, how were the practices
Pretty intense. You know, we went live scrimmage in those situations and had a chance to tackle to the ground and saw some people really show up because of it. They were short. They were 90-minute practices as opposed to some of our longer practices, but we got the work in we needed.
Anybody stand out? Did anybody step up? Anything you saw that was a little different from who you were?
Yeah, I think if I were to pick one on each side of the ball, it would be Giovanni Johnson on offense, and on defense it would be Trayshawn DeVones. But there's a lot of guys that, again, are continuing to step up and earn more playing time, but those are 2 that really stood out, I think, to anybody who watched. Yeah, I just don't know how substantial at this time. You know what I mean? There's the guys that are going to work in on special teams and who have earned the right to do that. As far as in the base packages on O&D, there's guys that we're really excited about. I'm not sure that we're excited about them for right now in a role on offense and defense.
Biggest thing that y'all learned this week that's going to help you going forward?
You know, I think as you look at our team, we talked a lot about situational football. Offensively, like I don't know that I've ever been a part of an offense where you're converting less on 3rd and 4 to 6 than you are on 3rd and 7 to 10. And that's been part of our third down woes, quite frankly. We're doing such a better job staying ahead of the sticks than we did a year ago, and we're just not converting those things consistently enough. I think we're 26% in 4 to 6 right now, and that number needs to be flirting with 50%, and then everything else goes up. We're doing really good in 3rd and 1, doing really good in 3rd and 2 to 3, and 7 to 10, we're probably right where we need to be. It's 4 to 6 is an area we have to attack, and we talked about some ways to do that, whether it's through different protections or different route concepts or certain runs that we feel good about getting that in that down and distance. So those are, again, things that I thought were really good for us to learn offensively. There's some things personnel grouping-wise where we feel like maybe we're becoming too one-sided. You know, I think when you have 2 backs on the field and 3 tight ends, you're probably going to run it more than you throw it. But maybe there's ways we could find more play passes in there. And the same is true about when we're in 10 personnel with 4 wide receivers on the field or 11 personnel. We need to find a little more balance in running the ball. And those are just things that are always good to see. We do it, those numbers week to week, and so we know about them, but it's just something that was, there was a couple of them that were glaring, and we're going to try to address.
You mentioned Giovanni, quarterback position as a whole. Do you feel more that the order and how you're going to deploy those guys is more established and more comfortable?
Yeah, Wiley is our starter. We're going to use him in that role. We want him to jump in the game and lead us from start to finish. Now, there may be some people that jump in there for whether it's special plays that they may throw better or whether it's a quarterback design run. Maybe we do that more with one of the other guys than Wiley at this time. Yeah, I think everything starts with a few more third down conversions, as simplistic as that sounds, because that gives us more at-bats in the run game and more at-bats throwing the ball. I think that when we're able to do that, when we're able to convert and just get new sets of sticks, I think the shots become more available. And again, we've proven that Bradley Rosner's hard to cover, even though he didn't have a whole lot of production in the last game. He had 6 15-yard penalties called against the DB guarding him. And that's, you talk about flipping the field and making a difference. That makes a difference. And so we're going to give him those opportunities. Obviously, Austin's doing a great job with his run after catch as well. But I still think, like, everything's continuing to click. You asked specifically about the passing game, but what Aston's doing and the way he's seeing things in the run game right now is really good as well. And, again, I can't say enough about Aston, like what he's doing without the ball, the selfless things that he does, play in and play out.
Well, since you can't say enough about Aston, I want to ask you about the way he blocks. Can you talk specifically about the way he blocks an edge rusher as a big guy?
Yeah, so whether he's blocking in the run game, if he's asked to do that, he's going to put his face in there and move people. He's going to put his fullback hat on when that comes up. But what he does in pass protection in terms of how he studies it week to week, how he's always in the right place, and then he does fit those linebackers up with great leverage. And we have all the confidence in the world with him. If we could clone him, we might put him at guard.
So let me ask you about Blaze. According to the notes, he's 3rd in the nation in tackles for loss. I just want to make sure that's accurate.
It was 2nd in the nation in tackles for loss going into last weekend, so I assume 3rd is accurate. And he has been added to the Bronco Nagurski watch list, which I think is so cool. I told our team, like, that just doesn't happen very often. I think those award committees, they do a lot of research and have a lot of meetings in the summer. They like to get their watch group then. And so for them to be impressed enough by what Blaze has done on the field to add him to that watch list, I think speaks volumes to his play, and it surprises none of us.
I was going to ask you, what is it about him that's making him so effective?
I think the way you look back at from the time last season ended, we raved about how he cut his body fat from 13 to 7 and gained 15 pounds. And that's so hard to do. Anybody who's ever tried to do that knows the gaining weight and losing body fat thing is really hard. And it was all his work and the way he worked in the weight room, the way he worked in running, the way he was always in the building. But the thing people didn't see is maybe the time when he was in the meeting room studying this game and understanding this defense from a next level type vantage point. And I think Scott Vestal made the comment to me when we were in the car recruiting on Friday that he's never seen anybody that could diagnose so rapidly. And again, that comes from studying and being able to process that information that quickly. And that's what's leading to his tackles for loss. Now, I think he's got a group of defensive linemen in front of him that are doing their job pretty well too in creating some of those opportunities. A couple of his TFLs in particular from the UAB game were because of what Trey Schumann did and how he affected the backfield action, affected the pullers. So you're starting to see the defense work together really well, and it's going to be a great matchup, in my opinion, the way that UTSA is trying to run the football right now with their quarterback and with a runner against our defensive front seven. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Yeah, it's really cool. It means a lot. I think those individual awards really are team awards, kind of like everything else. But to have Brian Chafin on the Remington watch list, to have Blaze on the Nagurski watch list, and then we also have Miles Adams on the Campbell Trophy watch list for the top student athlete in America. And that award means so much to me because of who we are here at Rice, trying to be the best of both worlds. All right, thank you all.
Well, I like to say that this year has been going pretty pretty interesting for our team. We're at a place where we're still capable of handling all of our goals that we set out, and it's all about sticking together and what we plan to accomplish. Right now, we came off a bye week where we had a lot of great practices from young guys to older guys and a lot of good repetition. The energies were probably the best that it's been. Not saying that the other weeks haven't, but this energy during this bye week was amazing. And I think even yesterday during practice, you could just see that everybody's locked in, focused, engaged. I'm really excited to see what we can do this week moving forward. And just go out there and compete and try to get that first win. I like to say Giovanni Johnson, as a quarterback, showing his athleticism, running the ball, his leadership, decision-making. Just to see that from a guy so young, I'm just excited. I look forward to seeing what he can do in the future. And as far as defensively, Chike's been playing great defense, coming downhill. And what a lot of people don't know, he actually had a bad eye injury and still practiced with it and came out and played amazing. It's just hard. You just didn't even notice it. And I just think that was amazing on his behalf. Well, I think, first of all, playing a running back position, I think the most important thing to your effectiveness starts up front. It starts with the O-line. It starts with your fullbacks. It starts with the tight end. And when I tell you that this whole season there hasn't been a game where I can just think that, we haven't been able to get some production up front, and they just been keep going and going. And Coach Ashfield does a great job. And those guys, they're so locked in, from Brian Chafin to Nick Leverett, all those guys, that they just love what they do. And they love, just coming to the sideline, hey, Coach, I love this. Hey, Coach, I see this. It's constant communication. So as far as me as a runner, it makes my job real easy. I just do what the coaches say, be patient, slow too fast through. But I think a lot of my success attributes to what those guys up front do. Oh, it's great, Ian. Because, my mom being here, I just remember when me and my brother were growing up, all the time, whether it was after a football game, on the way to school, she would always, use a camera and do mock press conferences and always ask these interviews. And I remember we used to get so upset and like, oh, Mom, like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? But it pays off now. And now I can come up here and give it with such ease and not, use words like, which she always gets on to me about. But all these things just come naturally, and it's all because of her. So I want to give a shout out to my mom, Diane Walter. Any other questions?
Well, let me ask you about UTSA. That UTSA
I expect for them to come out playing with their hats on fire, seeing that, we're a winless team right now. Don't know if they're going to respect us, but all I can do is know that we have to respect them, respect every opponent that we play this year. And the way I look at it with their defense, no matter what they bring, it's all about us. I always have that approach that we execute and we do our assignments, what we're practiced to do. It doesn't matter what a front or a team does. It's all about our execution. Offense is an execution point of game. So I expect them to come out, playing pretty good. They came out last year, had great energy, made a lot of good plays, But I think that we're a lot more developed this year. And so far, we just got to go out there and see how it is on Saturday. I think it was pretty amazing, just to see my brother in an NFL uniform. And one thing that I've said to him all the time is that he's shown me that whatever you want in this life, it takes hard work. And that's the same thing that Coach Bloomgren preaches to everybody, whether we're up or we're down. He says, all I know is how to work. And from them two, it shows me that whether it's football or life in general, if you want anything to be successful, you have to work for it. You can't expect the results you want if you don't work. So I just think that it's amazing to see him coming from Rice, him along with Emmanuel Ellerby, who's another one of my roommates who's in Seattle, seeing both of their processes and, attributing to what we see here every day, part of our culture. It's just a life lesson I've learned is that, hey, work is the success, the key that you need for success. So. Oh, man. To me, I'm his biggest fan. I always think that he's the greatest running back in my eyes. I've been thinking that since we were little kids to when we were in high school together. I was quarterback, he was running back. I used to always say he's the best running back in the state, and he's always going to be the best in my eyes.
Well, as you know, our reality right now is an 0-6 football team. But what I would say is different from any 0-6 football team or any losing football team that I've ever been on or seen or watched is we're no less hungry than we've ever been. Our bye week was just different. Just in every way possible, it was different than last year's bye week. Last year's bye week, we were stressed out. We were coming off that loss to Hawaii, feeling like we were just down on ourselves. But after this bye week, it's just like, let's go. Like, the young guys were out there flying around, old heads just coaching them, keeping up, trying to make sure we know our positions so well that we can coach them. And then now we're moving on to UTSA, and we're hungry. We know we're an 0-6 football team, and we know they're a 2-4 football team. And both of us want this win just as bad as the other. And as long as we execute from start to finish, I don't see why we don't come out on top.
Fred, I've heard Coach Bloom mention your old heads, and I've also heard you just say old head. Do you consider yourself an old head, or do you think that's why your play has picked up to another level?
I would say that this last year I kind of had to force myself into that role of old head. We had some transfers, some guys go out last year, and Coach Bloom and the other coaches put it on me to grow up pretty quick, and I took that responsibility. And with how many young guys we have on the defense and in the D-line room, we only have one true senior, Miles Adams. So I'm really the second oldest guy in that room with Elijah Garcia and Anthony Ekpe. And so it's a requirement for me to know and be that kind of guy for the defense. And I think that it's good for us. And, yeah, it elevates my game because it makes me get in that playbook extra. It makes me watch that film extra. It makes me work extra hard so I can set the right tone for these young guys who will be old heads one day themselves. I mean, man, it's a grind. But, I mean, when is it not a grind, I've been a guy who's been plagued by a few things, especially last year. It's just a typical banged-up stuff. You play D-line. When you play at a high level like this and you kind of just want to get in there and wreak havoc, you're going to get a few bruises and bumps. But what it's really just taught me is to take care of my body. I mean, I'm in that training room constantly getting better, whether I actually have something that I need to be getting done or if I'm just doing maintenance. It's just taught me to be really diligent in how I take care of myself. I think, really, ironically enough, with every loss, there's an added intensity, which on one hand is kind of bad because you want that same intensity all the time. But guys know, like, we're pressed for time. You want 6 wins to get to a bowl game. We have 6 games left, and this intensity that we need to have for this game needs to be more than anything we've had the rest of the year if we want to come out on top. That's just the truth.
It's been a pretty good start for y'all, especially up front this season. During the bye week, you mentioned it was different, it was remain intense. What are a couple things that y'all as a unit, paid special attention to improve for the second half of the season?
Getting to the quarterback, I mean, it's no surprise. Like, we don't have the sacks and the production in the pass game that we want to, and we want to be able to work well with the back end to stop the quarterback and stop them on third downs because we feel like as a defense, our third down efficiency is below par right now. And so for the front, it was really just getting to the quarterback, just perfecting your pass rush game, knowing where he's at, staying aware because with this UTSA game especially, they got a guy who can run. So getting back there and making sure to keep him inside and front is going to be on us. So we got to handle that. Thank you.
Recruiting in football. It's kind of the story of my life.
You were so a little further up north, and then you were in Nashville.
So I was in Nashville, Nashville on Thursday, Dallas on Friday.
I guess you went to Dallas with Scott.
Yeah.
And then Nashville solo.
Mike Kershaw. Yeah, he's got the whole state of Tennessee for us.
Oh, so it depends on like whose territory it is more so than like if you're seeing like actually seeing like a receiver or a linebacker.
So it's some and some, to be honest with you. Usually this time of year it's more area, and then in December and January it becomes more positional based and coordinator based, who I'll be with most of the time.
Why is that? Because you're like trying to close out. Or?
Yeah, like just because like you're always so the area coach finds and determines the prospects and brings them to the party, but ultimately the relationship they have to build is with their position coach and their coordinator, and then of course me coming in, hopefully I have a chance to influence them some and make them realize the direction of the program and everything else.
I mean, this feels like a stupid question, but like, is like you just said, like sort of be like, excuse this term, but like the big dad who's where it's like you're coming in, you're the heavy hitter, you're the home run hitter. Like,
Yeah, there's an element of that.
Like having been like an OC.
So even as an OC, I felt that.
I was gonna say,
I really did,
You're
'cause, like,
a celebrity coach still.
Yeah, to some degree, and like honestly, it was just such a big deal when you would come to somebody's school. Like it was like, hey, the coordinator from Stanford's coming, and so like I felt that strain a lot. Like if I really wanted somebody to come to visit Stanford that hadn't visited them as a coordinator, I felt like I better get my butt in there in April and May, or they ain't gonna come this summer. Like and that, but if I do, you can see my interest is sincere, and maybe you'll reciprocate and give us a visit. And at a school like Rice or Stanford, so much of it is getting them to come, especially when you're doing a national recruiting model. Because if they don't come see it, it's not real, and there's no way they're going to sign up for those APs. They're not going to take the SAT or ACT again. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
so you got to get them there, and that's what I always felt like. I felt the pressure as a coordinator to get my butt there. As a head coach, you can't be out in April and May.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
but yeah, December and January, you're going to have opportunities and living rooms to close.
Yeah, right. I know we talked about injuries last week, but it was not a good time since we were holding guys out anyway.
Yes.
What's it look like for this weekend?
So Ekpe didn't practice and Jacquez hasn't played this year either, but he's had an internal injury and didn't practice yesterday. Ekpe didn't practice yesterday.
Do you expect him back on Saturday?
Not really.
What is it, like a foot injury?
It's not. It's a lower leg or groin area.
No.
Other than that,
Leverett's back, right?
Leverett's back.
Yeah.
Goose is probably as healthy as he's been in weeks since the Texas game.
Oh.
Wiley we held out. He's good. Shea we held out. He's good. I really expect. Those are the two that I would tell you right now I don't expect. But other than that, I think we're a pretty healthy team.
How much is Jacquez played this season anyway? Oh, yeah.
0.
Did he redshirt last year?
He played some on special teams last year, so he did not redshirt. So he's going to get his redshirt.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
What about
We still hope to get him back. We put a lot of stuff in the plan for him for UAB, and he ended up getting an in-practice injury.
Bummer.
And so he just hasn't been healthy enough to do the things we want him to do, and he can definitely help us.
Yeah.
A healthy Zane Knight changes things for us.
Was it Jake Bailey who I saw making a catch in
Yes.
the game?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Zane is, I don't know, how would you describe him in terms of, I know like you and Alex are always looking at like projecting who's going to be redshirt and things like that. Does it
Yeah.
look like he'll contribute enough to
I don't
be on that list?
know that he'll be able to contribute enough. He's played
Yeah.
1 game out of 6.
Right.
So if you say that we got, of our next 6, we got 3 of them left to play him, and he's not completely healthy right now, so his role's not going to be what we want it to be. Yeah, redshirting's a possibility.
Gotcha.
If we get to game 4 and we only got 1 or 2 left to play, we're
Yeah.
probably going to be smart about it.
Yeah. Last question. I remember seeing guys like during practice, preseason, like Austin Conrad, during the spring game, someone like Red Cardinal. Where are they at?
So they are back out there, and both of them injured their lower body in the first drill of fall camp. So we went down 2 receivers in the first drill of fall camp. It's a special teams drill and just freak things that make no sense for the way they had trained all summer.
Yeah.
And so literally Conrad's been back for maybe 2 weeks now.
Oh, okay.
So sorry, that's Cardwell. Cardwell's been back for maybe 2 weeks. Conrad was back for maybe game 2, played some in game 3 and 4 on special teams, and re-injured his ankle. But again, like they're working back. They're just, quite frankly, not as gifted as other guys.
Yeah. And I guess not being able to like have time to show your stuff kind of
It stinks.
worse.
Yeah. Especially for Conrad, who's sitting there. Sorry, for Cardwell, who's sitting here in his senior year. That's the one I hated for.
Austin, senior?
He's not.
Richard Jr.?
Maybe I think he's a true junior.
Is he?
Austin Conrad, yeah. Yeah. So we just put him on scholarship this year. So. But anyway, yeah, those guys they're They're practicing. You'll see them today if you're out there.
Okay, cool. Cool. See you today,
All right, thanks, man.
Doing well, doing well.
Yeah. Some wins wouldn't hurt
you.